Please note, this episode discusses mature themes. While not explicit, listener discretion is advised. Hi, friends. I know it's been a minute since you've heard from Lauren and but when there's a situation where it calls for drastic measures and we have to figure out a time to connect, this is when these episodes happen. So, Lauren, welcome back.
Oh my gosh, it feels like it's been a year.
It's
The amount that's happened, it feels like it's been a year, even though it's only been a short while. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, it is my pleasure. But one of the things that I first want to address, because we're addressing a couple things today, but I still want to go back to Jessica Reed Kraus for a minute, from where we left off last. But it looks like Vanity Fair picked up the story that we were talking about. So, thoughts on how that all came to be and how you interpreted that article?
Oh my God, listen, it was hilarious. I mean, the fact that they got a quote from the White House saying that she wasn't inducted into the White House press or press group or whatever she
The
called
press
it,
pool or whatever. Yep.
press pool.
Mhm.
And they're like, she's talking, they shaded her so hard. They're like saying how she's like, I might need to consider getting a second apartment in Washington, D.C. And
That's
they're
right.
like, this is meant for somebody who doesn't visit frequently.
This is a
And I
single
just
day
like,
pass.
oh my God, like I could not handle it. They shaded her so hard. They went into the FEC PAC money that was given to her through RFK Jr. They
That's
went into
right.
her not voting. I don't know if they went into the Fireside app thing that she did. She had this app called
Oh.
Fireside, and I want to say that oh God, Mark Cuban is an investor in this company,
Okay.
but she was supposed to
Mhm.
be giving people content weekly and like just didn't give people content at all. And like some of them paid $100 up front for the year. So I've
Oh
seen people
my
on Reddit
Lord.
being like, that's wire fraud. But anyway, I think that I can't remember if Vanity Fair went into that part either.
I don't think they went too much into that, but I know they went into the pack. I know
Hmm.
that they
Hmm.
were looking into that because there was that random amount of like $1,100, right?
Yeah.
And like 14 cents. But supposedly it was because they bought some of Jessica's hats, the merch that she started selling, which is just embarrassing. I like I can't imagine monetizing off of your non I don't know. Like this is just not a journalist. This isn't a reporter. And even if so, I find that just kind of weird. Being
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna rep some merch from a journalist. Like, eh, no, thank you. But speaking of
Yeah.
merch, I mean,
The only thing I've
now,
ever bought from a journalist is like a book, like Clarissa,
yeah.
she's a what's her Clarissa Ward's book On All Fronts. That's the only thing I've ever bought from a journalist, or maybe like a book. But
Yeah.
seriously, yeah, it's bizarre. And the funny thing too is now her husband Mike is chiming in more, and he was like,
Hmm.
she's done so much for the Republican Party. But then you have Jessica being like, I'm unbiased. I didn't vote because I don't want to be untethered. And it's like, girl, like literally, you were like touted as one of the people that helped get Trump elected. And like, I don't know if you could put a number on how many people you think voted for Trump that maybe wouldn't have
Hmm.
voted or would have voted for Kamala. If you could put a number, what's your guess?
I don't even know. I mean, at this rate, because here's the thing, it's like it's so hard to even decipher that because I'm sorry, the election was rigged. And so it's like to actually think about how many people actually showed up and voted. I will say being in this red state, I unfollowed so many people that Tuesday, uh, because they were filming themselves with like their families all in Trump attire going to vote. I mean, it again, it's weird. It is
Mm-hmm.
so weird to me. Like, yes, I made a video, but it was a video to say I'm voting for the very first time for a black woman to be president. That to
Yes.
me is more meaningful. For you sitting there putting your kids in Trump clothes and being like, woohoo, with their like little flags, like 34 felonies, a fucking rapist.
Yes.
I
Yes.
even saw a Trump birthday party
No.
for
Oh
a
my God.
10-year-old boy.
No. No. On TikTok
Lauren, they
or somebody
had,
you know.
yes, like envision. like the party of, I don't know, like Frozen, right? All the little decor, it was all Trump stuff.
Wow, that is wild. That
I
is
was
wild.
disturbed. I
One
was
of my
so
favorite
disturbed.
things was like you could see there was somewhere where you could see contributions people made and like some of like the loudest people I knew like who wouldn't shut up about Trump didn't actually donate like a single dollar to him and I'm just like y'all are wild like I swear to God but did you see on I saw this on TikTok and it was only one of the cabinet members so far but he replaced his American flag pin on his lapel with a gold bust of Trump
Oh,
pin,
I've been starting to see like
Trump's
little bits,
head.
but I haven't read it. Yeah.
And
So
I'm
what's
like,
that
if
about?
not dictator, then why dictator shaped?
Ugh.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All of it. All of it. And it's obviously very clear now Trump is above the law
I
as
just like
well.
I just need to know. I hope that in my lifetime, like if I get to heaven and they're like, Lauren, you get three questions answered. For sure there's a few unsolved true crimes that I'm gonna be like, Finn, or like, where's the lost city of Atlantis? But then the
Yes.
third one's gonna be, was Jessica Reed Kraus paid indirectly by politicians and rapists to say the things that she said, or is she just that much of a pick me?
She's that much of a pick me.
Does
Well,
she
and I think
buy
there's
into the
money.
propaganda so much that she thinks it's the cool thing to say and she just perpetuates it?
Yeah, truly.
I don't know.
I mean, getting to heaven and asking those three questions, I think my number one would just be like, how dare you? Like, I'm just gonna start it from there. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
millennials are just sitting here like, how dare you?
yeah.
When I think about, it's just wild because my brain does not go to like thinking of the Trump administration and then like all these Christians who are over here touting like what wonderful, blessed people we are for having Trump save us. Like, one more time, people. This is fascism. This is Nazi behavior. This is just everything under the sun. And so when you have Jessica sitting over here still like, "Oh, why does everyone have a bee in their bonnet?" She's a pick me. All she wants is notoriety, money, fame, and she's being finally exposed to what she is. But even now, these women that have continued talking about her or had those relationships with her, like somebody like Denise, who's now trying to capitalize off of merch for her because Jessica said that she was a lazy loser. I think
Hmm.
is the
Hmm.
quote. So now Denise has lazy loser merch. Again, I don't condone anything of these women. The only thing that I will like stand up for is again, you should not be showing police reports, especially involving minors and domestic violence. That is the lowest of lows. But look, Candace looks like she's still on one about Jessica as well. And but this article added so much fuel to the fire, and I've got to say to that writer, kudos, because she also shaded her in so many different ways, and like again, just touching on the lack of journalistic integrity that Jessica has. Like for me,
Hmm.
that was rich. Like I was just
Oh,
smiling
I
reading
loved
it.
it. And the thing about Jessica is Jessica, her entire personal brand has been let's send the hounds of hell and the pile-on to women who have been assaulted, who have come forward against a really famous perpetrator, or just,
Mhm.
Virginia Giuffre, or but let's be a fan of Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
And so anyway, right now, a lot of her posts, because she hasn't posted much, and I'm assuming Olivia Nuzzi is in her ear, probably telling her to stay above the fray. And actually, what we're going to talk about next with the Armie Hammer interview, he said,
Mhm.
"Oh, like if you open your mouth in a shitstorm, all you're going to get is shit in your mouth, basically." And
Jesus.
I think that Jessica was never given that advice,
No.
but it is the advice I would say that somebody in PR would probably give her would be to
Mhm.
like kind of lay low. So it seems like that's what she's trying to do, which I'm sure it's killing her 'cause she's the queen of lashing out. But um, what I will say is she has said a few things to the effect of like this being a pylon and like I can't believe
Mhm.
this and whatever. And it's like, babe, you have sent this and worse to so many women, but it's not okay, or it's a pylon, or it's whatever you want to call it, when it's directed towards you, but you
Yeah.
literally, your entire personal brand has been sending this to so many people
So
on a
many
weekly basis.
daily basis at
Yeah.
times, especially
So,
in the height of, another man getting canceled in this industry. And you're right. I mean, it's like, again, the hypocrisy that is happening with her is so wild to me. And then but it's everybody else who's attacking her now.
hmm
I'm sorry. With your 1 point, however many followers, with half of them are probably bots at this point. Um, what are you trying to strive? Like, I just want to know what her end game is. Like,
hmm
what are you getting from this aside from money and again and recognition? And she's getting the recognition, she's getting press.
I think she wants to be RFK Jr.'s first woman.
I have never just like I feel literal vomit in my throat when I see a photo of him. Like I'm repulsed.
Dude, how could you even like just being around him? It honestly sounds like he's buffering.
Him,
Sounds
Trump,
like the
and
Babadook.
Musk. I'm just like, I don't know who would be willing to touch you, let alone smell you, let
I was
alone
gonna say they
look at you.
all look like they smell bad. Like
So bad.
Elon Pelon looks like he smells like aged milk.
Oh,
I'd say
and just
RFK
like
Jr. like
dirty, sweaty pits.
yeah, RFK Jr. sounds like it looks like
Oh,
he smells like somebody who's just been like hunting and like sweat and like some sort of like venison or
cheap
something. Yeah,
tanning lotion.
and then Trump, we all know, we've all
Oh,
heard
we know
rumors
what
of
he
what Trump
smells
smells
like.
like. It's
Oh,
to be stuck in
repulse.
a room with him, like repulsive, repulsive.
Well, speaking of people that stink, we also are doing this interview today after speaking. I mean, this is the greatest segue because Jessica, as we know, like I said, has been attacking survivors, yours included, right here. So, something really wild happened within the last 24 hours. So taking it back to Jessica though, and when she really, really started, I feel, getting intimidated by me was when I started sniffing around for revenge porn that she posted to her Substack regarding one of Armie Hammer's survivors. Now, with that being said, I woke up yesterday morning to a message from one of Army's survivors and said, "Hey, just so you're aware, but my abuser interviewed your abuser." And I was like, hold on, what do you mean? So Armie Hammer, we and you and I talked about this podcast right when he came out with it, like at the beginning of January. And we're like, who the hell is going to be listening to this? Who is boosting him up? Well, what do you know? So anybody who's listening who might not be familiar with my story and Billy Jensen, Billy Jensen is a scorned Ichabod Crane looking ass guy who essentially was here screaming and cheering for victims and survivors, particularly because it also was lining his pockets. And he was also getting the little notoriety and little bit of fame that he believed he deserved because of the late Michelle McNamara. And Billy helped finish write her book, which he honestly had no business doing. Um, but then you throw in the factor that like Michelle was married to Patton Oswalt, and so it created this like vision for Billy as if he was just going to become this next like stud in the industry. And this is a guy who like fully embraced the flock of seagulls. I mean, he was just like the pictures of Billy in high school are like the truest 80s most cringe photos, but it makes sense in regards to his behavior today and how he
hmm
treats women. Uh,
hmm
and so, with that being said, like I shared before, and as Lauren has shared, Armie Hammer has been in our world, if you will, 4 years for me. I don't know how many years for you. So it was a little daunting to see Armie having discussions about my allegations and then boosting up Billy. So what I've decided to do today, because again, if you're interested in hearing more about my story, I really go into Billy in my first and second personal tales, but it's in my second personal tale where you hear it fully raw from me. You hear that this isn't just about touching my hair, as innocuous as that is, according to Billy Jensen. So what I want to do is turn this time over to Lauren because Lauren actually spent the time yesterday really reading up about the other survivors who've been affected by Billy. But once again, we're sitting here, didn't think this day would ever come that we're going to talk about Armie Hammer and fucking Billy Jensen. So here you go, Lauren.
Ooh, I know. Literally, like, I mean, I have a ton of questions for you, but what I will say is I did take notes last night. It was painful. It was a painful 2 hours. I remember thinking 5 minutes in, 4 minutes in, I wrote, I can't believe I have almost 2 more hours to go. And then I called it mansplaining the musical. But literally the worst people, and they kept on talking about Joseph Campbell. And Joseph Campbell, if for anyone listening that doesn't know, I have the DVD of Origin of Myth. I love theology
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
But the thing is, Joseph Campbell essentially wrote this thing called the hero's journey. And so it's the framework for it was the framework for Star Wars.
yeah.
And so it's all about how, the hero goes out and has this dark night of the soul and then goes through all these trials and tribulations and comes back to their hometown victorious. So think of basically any movie you've seen or any religious story. It's a similar framework. And it
Ugh,
made me realize, oh my God, these guys think that their villainous acts and subsequent cancellations are their fucking hero's journey. And
correct,
we're looking at this like this is the biggest villain crossover of all time podcast. So
correct.
anyway, that was interesting to me. But on your end, what I would love to know is how was that for you listening to it? And like, did you feel like, I mean, I just listening to it felt like it was a serious misrepresentation, but like, how was that for you?
Oh man. Let me preface this by saying being in the Sundance world, knowing how pivotal Call Me by Your Name was during that festival, and seeing that Army was kind of like the Sundance golden boy. Like he was really up and coming, right? And when I, God. It's a mind fuck. Let me just put it to you that way. It's a mind fuck. Because, like I said, Billy came on this scene in about 2018. He was on Crime Watch Daily with Chris Hansen. And so, he already had this like slow uphill of being in this industry. He also is like somebody who just loves entertainment, and you can just tell that Billy just wanted to be so integrated, just like Jessica wants to be in Hollywood, wants the fame, wants the notoriety. Now you throw in Armie Hammer, who comes from this really horrific lineage of men. And as I shared before, I was supposed to do a whole ass podcast with my dear friend Sarah Kalin, and it was supposed to focus on the Hammer family, specifically the males. And so I know quite a bit about Army's past life. And there's a lot of similar notes when it comes to the other psychopath that I have a lot of knowledge about, which is Ted Bundy. So I see a lot of behaviors and similar like sentiments and like body language. He reminds me of Ted Bundy. Army does. And so when we talk about where Billy came into my life, it was because of Ted fucking Bundy. So when we're looking at this, at the bigger picture of, and I will say this in the terms of like the business of Bundy, which everybody knows that name. And what happened to me when I broke into the true crime industry, people picked up on that name immediately, obviously, with Bundy, but they're like, whoa, 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 but it's a woman. A woman is talking about Ted Bundy. Oh, she's calling him X, Y, and Z. She's not calling him suave. She's not calling him this and this and this. Billy loved that. Loved it. Loved the name of my documentary, loved everything that I was doing, would amplify my work. He even goes and fucking tells Armie, like, well, I even helped careers of some of these girls. First of all, don't call me a fucking girl. I'm a woman. The amount of times that they called us girls is disturbing and disgusting. And once again, equates us to just little girls running around, right? And letting my brain process that for a second. So you've got this man here who I was supposed to do a whole ass podcast on and how horrific he actually is to my abuser. The amount of times that I heard them talk about the anxiety, the amount of times they wanted to crawl out of their skin, the amount of times they felt like unaliving themselves. I understand that. But do you also realize we go through that? And that's
Hmm.
a regular daily fucking thing with these assholes. So the minute that I read that Billy is doing an interview and you throw an Armie, where's my anxiety? Through the fucking roof. Okay. Then we also have to think about all the lies that they're spewing about the survivor circles, saying that we all turned on each other, that we were going at it, releasing text messages. First of all, let me bring it back. I am still very much very close to a couple of these survivors, assholes. One of them I would even consider a best friend of mine. And the people or what they're referring to, what Billy's referring to, he's referring to the people that actually put this story out there without my consent, without the whistleblower's consent, and without the other survivors' consent. So all of this entire situation was not done by any of these survivors. I'm going to go on record and say that right now. None of us. You throw in Armie, he is just boosting up Billy left and right. You also have the factor that Billy is an alcoholic. Okay, got it. You went to rehab. Now you're talking about how difficult it was to relay your argumentative and gaslighting to your attorney, and that attorney then had to go and turn and tell that to Rolling Stone, and you're also making that a boo-hoo moment for you. Fuck you. Sincerely, fuck
But
you.
I think like a commonality that I've seen between the two of them is both of them obviously went to rehab, but both of them have sort of foisted their past misdoings
Mhm.
onto their addiction issues instead of
Yes.
really taking accountability. And I agree with you with the infighting that they were describing.
Yeah.
They were also trying to, uh make it seem like all the people that were looking into Army were like the don't look the don't F with cats people gone like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
went on
yeah.
or something.
Right.
And um I felt like the tone of the conversation to me was you're not giving the full context of what you've been accused of. You're throwing a little bit
Mhm.
out there and watering it down. And then you're trying to make not only the women that have accused you of such things seem like they're unreliable narrators and crazy and fighting with each other. And, oh,
Mhm.
you didn't know what the next thing the lawyer was going to say was because, like, how could you possibly know it didn't happen?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but trying to paint all of the people that looked into you and all the people that accused you as crazy and also all the accusations. Say it. Give me the full context. Don't
Yeah.
give me this watered down context because he made it sound like, oh my God, I hugged someone. I took a photo
Yeah.
with someone. I touched somebody's hair.
Yeah.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, my life is turned upside down and I'm getting fired. And there's a Rolling Stones article about me. That doesn't make sense, Billy. So
No.
that doesn't make
And
sense.
and also, Billy, you didn't grab someone's ass. I will tell you, and as I have said, what you did, what Billy did, and keep in mind, Billy fucking Jensen, I was the whistleblower's advocate. I heard exactly what happened after the party. I heard exactly what was told to HR. I heard it all. And I am here to say it wasn't grabbing someone's ass. What you did is classified as sexual battery, motherfucker. Sexual battery. That's not touching hair. That's not hugging too long. That's not this and this and this. And you woke up and you were canceled, motherfucker. It's because you do not know how to keep your hands to your motherfucking self.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right. It's this watered down version. It's playing dumb. Also, idiot, do you remember that you sent a handful of us a copy and paste of the same apology letters and just updated names and maybe classified certain things for certain people. You already admitted your fault, Billy, to me, saying that he made me uncomfortable. So now he's telling Armie fucking Hammer it was innocuous. Nothing happened with me. Nothing. And then Armie goes on to like mock me later and be like, or someone touching her hair, whatever. Like, I can't even do it justice. And here's the kicker, Lauren, is that my that night that I was assaulted by Billy was the same exact night that I was then followed. Essentially, Billy's friend then escorted me to my room and would not leave me alone, even though I repeatedly asked him to leave me alone. And then what happened a year later? I end up in Rolling Stone magazine again for his friend. And my incident was the same exact fucking night.
Birds of a feather.
Flock to motherfucking together.
Yeah.
And if that guy shows up on Army's podcast, game over, motherfuckers. I will really, really release everything that I know and involving me, because there are still things that I have not shared to the public about both of these people. So I'm also going to go on and say what this does to survivors. I'm grateful that through my years of therapy, going through the motions of what it means to like speak publicly, to come out. The greatest advice that my therapist gave me was like, you always have to mentally prepare for that moment when either of these men go out and do something, whatever, whether it be good, bad, ugly, it's going to ignite people to research you and it's probably going to come back to you again. How do you handle that? How are you going to handle that? Because these are people who are already in the media. So I think my level of anxiety yesterday was actually the most calm it's ever been. But the other survivors, I can't say the same.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't. I I,
That
I
is,
spent
it's so unfortunate, and it's such a non-linear process, and
mhm,
it's not, it's different for everyone, and that's why,
mhm.
I mean, I don't know, even somebody like Jessica like is so damaging because it's like, yeah, like nobody wants to see a billboard of their rapist. Like, you know what
Exactly.
I mean? Nobody like,
Yeah.
but again, time and time again, I mean, even I remember there was the guy that played for the Netherlands in volleyball this past Olympics. That
Oh,
was,
yeah, 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 yeah. I
and
remember
he's
that.
on the world stage and he was,
Yes.
convicted of raping a, I believe, 13-year-old when he was in
Mhm.
his 20s or like 19, 20. So it's crazy how this happens to women time and time again. One thing I was curious about and your thoughts about is like Billy's now going on to write this book about heroes. And it seems like before he was trying to like cosplay a hero by like jumping into all these true crime cases, and he was like, I'm going to be the one to solve it. I'm going to be the one to
Mhm.
solve it. So a lot of what I was hearing was not like, I have so much empathy for the family.
Yeah.
Like, I really like, it breaks my heart every single day to think about this and it haunts me. It was like, I'm going to be the hero. I'm going to be the hero. And then writing a book about the hero. And what I've noticed with men is like, one of the biggest red flags for me is when a guy is like, I'm just such a nice guy.
Mhm.
Why do you have to tell me you're a nice guy? Like show don't tell, right? It's
Mhm.
kind of like the Tom Schwartz of it all, where I'm like, ooh, I'd rather you be Jax Taylor and I can see you coming from like
A
10
mile
miles
away.
away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the ones that are a little bit sneakier. But I think it's interesting that they're so obsessed with the hero's journey, with heroes, with their own, image of being like, what do you make of like their fascination with these topics that like talking about like good people
That's
and bad
just
people at the same
narcissism.
time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy is someone who constantly, like, I think if he could cosplay in an outfit in like Batman, he would, because he is so convinced that the world needs Billy. The world needs somebody who's not even accredited in law enforcement, somebody who literally built their empire, little quotes here, because they were stalking people on Facebook. Like that's his claim to fame, is that he's essentially asking people for tips on social media, so that then pushes for him to get the podcast that he had with Paul Holes, who was another. major person when it comes to the Golden State Killer case. Um, but Billy has played in this like cosplay fantasy of being a hero for so long, even before I met him. Um, he's very childlike. People are gonna hear by the time this episode comes out, this Wednesday episode is with the amazing Lauren or Laura Donovan. And Laura worked with Billy. So the irony that her and I actually had a conversation about Billy this week is perfect because she also breaks that down a little bit more of like this childlike behavior. And if I heard correctly, Billy was talking about some severe childhood trauma that he is kind of like written off, and I'm not going to repeat it here. Um,
And Armie had the same thing come out.
yeah. Yeah. Look, I've already said it in my personal tale. I think I even said whatever the fuck Billy needs to heal from, he needs to do that. But he
Mhm.
needs to stay away from women and survivors. Um, but to your point of like him writing this book, this hero book, because he's still trying to like create that image. And I have had so many different trauma survivors, including families, tell me what a piece of shit he is, or that he would give them false hope and be like, "Oh, I will circle back with you," or "Yeah, we'll take a look at this on the podcast." He would jack their stuff and then do it on the podcast and they never hear from him again, or giving them false hope. Um, this is somebody who, and like I said, was very confusing because there were parts of Billy that I felt were sincere. But today, like reflecting back on that and seeing his behavior with Armie yesterday, I was like, that was all a front. You don't have a good bone in your body, dude. You don't. So he can sit here and cosplay all that he wants. If you are listening to this podcast and you're still like, well, I think he might, really be in it for the right reasons, he's not. I'm telling you straight up, he is not. He wants that. He fucking said it. I bought a house in the Hollywood Hills like a couple months before everything went down. That's his boohoo.
Mhm. Mhm.
Dude, you
Did
were
you hear him say, "Oh, I'm like working with law enforcement still," and Army was like, "Oh, like what do they make of like the claims that are against you?" And he's like, "They don't give a shit."
yeah,
You hear that? I was
yeah.
like, "Wow, that like that's the
hmm
volumes." I was
They
like,
don't
"This
care.
is just
They don't care. I'm like, they don't care because you also are probably not even being open and honest
He
with them
also
because
admitted to having narcissistic qualities, by the way. I don't know if you heard that, where he was like, "Oh,
no.
like, anyone that moves out to LA and wants to be in entertainment, like, we all have like a level of like narcissism, essentially."
Wow. Well, I can tell you his level is off the charts.
Also, he
Uh
did this thing where he said, I hooked up with that girl and never called her." So the whole thing was about being like, "Oh, like these women are just mad that I didn't like call them
yes.
and like they're now gonna." Do you think somebody would launch an entire like thing over you, Billy, that
Yeah.
would disturb their life so greatly and have
No.
all of your fans harassing them probably and completely disrupt their work life? Like, no guy not calling you would be worth that.
You want to know the saddest thing about that though? And I'm going to be flat out honest, and I
Yeah,
hope to God Billy hears this. There was no uproar when he was outed.
really,
None.
really.
There was more celebration. There
Hmm.
were a lot of people who felt validated because this is also somebody who was infiltrating Facebook groups when his book came out, and they were specific to like my favorite murder, like little subgroups. He joined like 50 plus and would DM with people. He got inappropriate with some of these women. A lot of them were like, we had to block him from the
Yeah,
page because he was just spamming people. I mean, he was a fucking tyrant. So what's wild to me is the little videos that I made yesterday, people going and being like, wait, what happened with Billy? There are so many people who still have no idea this happened in the true crime community. So he's equally like still saying like, well, they didn't care about it. I highly doubt they even fucking knew then, dude. You're
Hmm.
not that big. You are
Hmm.
not that big of a celebrity. And he keeps believing and acting as if he is. He also goes on to say none of his journalism friends left him. Like
Yep.
they all stood by him. Well, let me give you even more of a sneak peek of what that actually means. So one of his good friends, I'm going to call him by his name, James Renner, who wrote a whole ass hit piece on myself and another one of Billy's survivors, going as far as showing like police reports for one person. Uh, all of his allegations on me were literally not even allegations. These are all things that I would openly admit to people that I said about them. I have no problem owning my truth and owning my honesty. I'm a little too honest, whatever. Uh, so this person writes this whole hit piece about myself, probably like a week after that Rolling Stone article came out. Now, mind you, this is that person who wrote that article has relentlessly harassed a good friend of mine as well, who has a missing sister and who has had a missing sister for decades. And he has insinuated that there was molestation from the family. And like this guy is equally a tyrant. He also then wrote a hit piece about another one of Billy's survivors who then went through a whole like crisis in front of people, and he posted it and he posted videos. And I finally reached out to him several months ago and asked for him to remove that article about myself. I will give him props that he did, but it was under the understanding of the main person at the center of the article, who was a previous friend of mine that I truly don't think about ever. And and apparently he checked in with that person. That person was like, I actually wish this article wasn't even like put up. So I just want it to go away, which I wholeheartedly agree. So he puts the article away. Now, but what does he say? He tells me if I proceed to talk about Billy in the media or in the public, he will post it again. I am saying that on record. These are the people that Billy keeps in his circle.
Wow. And also, I don't know if you caught on to this part of um the podcast, and maybe you know more about this than was shared, but like he also worked at the Village Voice, and it sounds like the people he was working for got arrested for some pretty damning things.
Oh, I didn't hear this part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was hearing it correctly, but it sounded like the people at the Village Voice that he worked with got in trouble for some stuff relating to their what are those things called? Their personals or whatever. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So something like that.
Oh my gosh.
So that might be a rabbit hole to dig into, but it's like, okay, dude, like your one journalist friend who's like literally acting as your flying monkey
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and harassing
And he
you.
talked shit on
You.
that guy.
Yeah.
He talked that like so much shit on that guy, which is
Yeah.
bananas to me. But he's saying that the women turned in and were like all fighting with each other. Like he doesn't have real friends.
Hmm.
He also then goes to reveal that the company that he was working for offered him $35,000 to sign an NDA. And then Armie goes on to say anybody who thinks that signing an NDA, like, that doesn't mean anything at all. Uh,
Which is something he said to his victim, one of his
mhm.
survivors rather. And so I was like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
remember hearing this.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
also remember hearing that he had tried to get people to sign NDAs himself.
Yeah, exactly.
All alleged, but like, you know.
But you have Billy being like, but I didn't sign it. I took the high road. I don't need that money. Listen, Billy, first of all, the people that offered you that money have still never literally said anything about you, have never said anything about the situation, and I'm over it. Like, we're 3 years after this whole situation and things are still coming out. And like I said, this was supposed to be nobody's nobody's business. This was something that we were all dealing with personally, privately. Um, I also want to go on to say that Billy saying that my claim was innocuous, also saying that I was a part of a collaborative group who was going out to take him down. Billy, I had already told people what you had done to me. Like, so there's a reason I got deposed. There's a reason I was on the phone with lawyers repeatedly while I was also out in the field, sir. Um, and then on top of that, what people may not realize, and I would love to share this, when you read like an expose like that, especially when it comes with survivors who are alleging, criminal behavior by these well-known men, guess what? They're not just taking our stories and being like, Kate, that's it. Here it is. It's going into print. Do you know the actual legal process to do that? And to actually be able to get your name in this article? The amount of evidence, witnesses, documents I had to provide to Rolling Stone to then go through their legal team to ensure that everything is kosher. And then it gets posted. So, Billy, there was extensive research. There was extensive documents. My witness is a homicide investigator. You want to challenge a homicide investigator to your turtle ass. Sit the fuck down.
Thank you. And also, like, I'm sorry, but like anyone who's been on the end of maybe chatting with a journalist and something being written up, like I can only imagine what they couldn't put in the article
Yep.
because they, couldn't get all the evidence they needed to,
Correct.
be avoid any suits. The other thing
Correct.
is I know before you we talked about the infighting, but like something else that I thought was really disgusting was one of the things that they said in that podcast, they turn on each other and release each other's strategy and messages and it's like a soap opera.
Oh
So
my
again, it's
God.
all this painting everyone is having a strategy, being so dramatic, being so unreliable narrator, and it just made me so mad. But like the fact that what happened was written up in Rolling Stone and the amount of red tape they have to go through just to put out
Hmm.
something like that and the number of
Hmm.
articles that die and will never see the light of day, even though they hold truth, but the
Ding,
truth
ding, ding.
can't be proven in a way that, again, will avoid litigation,
Yep.
is insane. The number of
Yep.
things that happen out in the world that don't get talked about because of that reason is insane.
Yeah. And that's why I want to bring it to the forefront because I
Yeah.
think people honestly assume that that's what happens and it's not. I started talking with Rolling Stone maybe the end of May of 2022, and that article didn't get published until the end of July.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how long that actually is. And like I said, the whole reason that this is out in the public, that this is even a conversation in the first place, is because of a non-survivor. And this person felt like they wanted to go after Billy personally, career-wise, and did it on the backs of all of us
Mm-hmm.
and putting us in crisis mode. Like shared, I was traveling all around the US chasing fugitives during this time with the
Mm-hmm.
Walsh family. Billy, I had better things to do with my life. And I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it with intent and with purpose. So when you're sitting here and you're talking about people were calculated, people were doing X, Y, and Z, we were trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to figure out how to wake up every single day, do my job, still attempting to try to get pregnant. I was recovering from an ovary surgery. I had just found out that I was diagnosed with like cancer months prior to that. Billy fucking Jensen, I had nothing to like, there was nothing that I was sitting there calculating how to ruin your career, how to ruin your life. You did that.
Mm-hmm.
You did that by your actions. And like look at Armie who's just like equally like, "Oh, I didn't do anything either." Also laughing that people were looking into him about also potentially being a murderer. I'm gonna go on record and say like I still wouldn't feel comfortable being like he's not. I don't know because of what I know about his family. And I'm
You
sure
know
you know
what?
too.
The other thing that I thought was kind of funny is I felt like Armie, like the first cannibal joke was okay, but then Billy
Yeah.
kept on circling back to that joke, and I could
Yes.
tell Armie was like laughing it off, but he's like, stop with the cannibal jokes.
Well, let me tell you, Army.
It was like one too many cannibal jokes for him, which I thought was fucking hilarious because I was like, ooh, like somebody's in the hot seat. But
But
okay,
yeah,
the
yeah.
the other thing, the other question I have for you, I guess for anyone listening that doesn't know the full story,
Mhm.
it sounds like there was kind of like a domino effect where like basically like a bunch of women had experienced something.
Yeah.
And then somebody had come forward within the context of the company
Yes. Yeah.
that he had through that true crime case or that true crime podcast. And
Podcast.
then
Hmm.
other people were kind of like, wait a second, like, yeah, something
Yeah.
I experienced something as well.
Yeah, I can break that down. Let me preface this by saying it was no secret in the true crime community that Billy was a creep.
Yeah.
Period. This is because Billy went on and would tell people that he was in an open marriage, which I still don't even know if that is true. This was because he was going and hooking up with women in the true crime industry. And like I said, when he really broke out into the scene, it was on the height of the Golden State Killer being captured, Michelle's book. So he was writing the coattails of that.
And so this woman, Michelle, dies, but she had, it sounded like she had a book about the Golden State
State
Killer that was like
Killer.
99% written, and he wrote like the last 5 pages or something. Is that how it
Pretty
went
much.
down?
Like, I mean, I wouldn't even give him that much credit.
Yeah.
Like from what I've heard from the people who actually were a part of that process, like he really didn't do that much at all. So basically what happens from that point, so that's like 2018. You come into 2019. Again, when I first got into the podcasting like group, if you will, of true crimers, it was this like we all have your back. Like you'll be on my show and then you be on this show and da da da. Like it was this fun little community. But then you start hearing rumors of people sleeping together. Now you're hearing that this person is a joke and da 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 da. Da. But I started hearing things about Billy, and actually one of these survivors confided in me about their allegations with Billy in 2019. And I will gladly say, I struggled when that person told me like what had happened to them strictly because of the manipulative tactics that Billy was doing with me, which was he was amplifying my project, amplifying me as, a filmmaker. So what does that do? That then starts creating this unbalance, right? Like I'm hearing he's doing this, but he's doing this for me, right? It was like a mind fuck to juggle. In 2019, he was getting invited to a lot of events that a lot of like my friends were at, or that I was going to be at. And that's when I finally saw him. And so my incident happens at the Watergate in DC in November of 2019. And I went through like a series of traumatic events like shortly after that, and he was still showing up, like being supportive of
And was
me.
this like the Watergate, like Watergate, Watergate? You're fucking kidding me.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is crazy that like, oh, this like
Oh yeah.
unfolded like a hotel with like such a controversy tied to it already.
Oh yeah. There's like when people are like, "Oh, is it the Watergate night?" Like that's when I always know that's cue of like people tearing my story down. Yeah.
No, that's so gross,
Yeah.
but it's also like fucking insane that it happened at that hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, like that
Mm-hmm.
place has dark fucking energy.
Yeah. So for 2020, obviously, for being one of the worst years for most people,
Yeah.
that was like truly the pivotal moment of me like taking in all of the trauma and trying to decipher what was going on with him. And finally, I stopped talking to Billy by the time 2020 is like over, like we're not communicating. Fast forward to October 2021, I get the call. about his behavior at this at Exactly Right's Halloween party. So yeah, so he was part of this network with the podcast, which is under the My Favorite Murder women, and so obviously they are very big, right? In terms of like their name recognition and whatnot. So I get this call, and it was in that call that I believed everything. Like it finally clicked for me of the situation that happened with me with the whistleblower, and then stepping in as an advocate, then taking it that step further and going through that process with
And it
the
probably
whistleblower.
validates you because the
Oh,
thing
yeah.
is, like when you're being gaslit, it
Hmm.
can be so confusing in the moment. And, it's designed to make you second guess yourself and it's
Yeah.
designed to be confusing. And then I always say, like, you can't read the label from inside the jar. And sometimes it's not until you zoom out a little bit. And I feel like
Hmm.
survivors, like, when they're in the chaos and when they're in the shitstorm, it's like they're still processing. They're in like almost like sensory overload. And until they zoom out, they can't even make sense of what happened to them.
Correct.
So to
Correct.
have like this experience and then to have like three other women be like, wait, but this happened to me. And then it's like, oh my God, like I
And
wasn't
we all had very
crazy.
different experiences,
Yeah.
which is wild. Um, but it still centers like
Mhm.
how he operates and how he
Yeah.
talks and how um but yes, and it was the biggest mind fuck for me because then I was like something switched in my brain and I was like,
Hmm.
oh no, 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 no. Billy has been this person. My
Hmm.
feelings inside of me have been correct, that I have been trying to figure this out for almost 2 years at that point. And so that process begins, the investigation begins, and then next thing I know, I'm getting called by lawyers by the time I start in pursuit. And I'm dodging those calls. Like, I'll be honest. Like, just like you said, the anxiety, the reality of like, oh, like this is getting even more serious
I
than,
mean, you've also been through something
yeah,
before, you know what I mean? And it's
yeah.
like I have been close with people who've gone down the path of the legal process with these kinds
Hmm.
of things, and it is so re-traumatizing. It's such a long process. It follows you, and it's
Hmm.
almost like I had this horrible thing happen to me, and now I'm being punished again.
Yeah.
Like, and there's these lawyers who are designed to ask you about the worst moments of your life and then intentionally try to trip you up or make
Right.
you emotional or make you feel horrible. Like it's designed to make you feel horrible and make you look like an unreliable narrator. Because when somebody's talking about the worst moment of your life, but is digging into you in that way,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
lawyers that represent rapists are some of the most insidious fucking people on planet Earth, and there's a special place in hell for them. But yeah,
And he
it's
hired Matt
horrible.
Lauer's attorney.
And there you have it. And so the thing is, I think for anyone listening, that because the other thing is, of course, like Army stands will listen to, and it's like no
Hmm.
woman in their right mind would come out up against a high profile man
Yep.
for funsies or for attention or for money. It's not fucking worth it. It's actually hell on earth. And I actually commend every single one of them because the best thing that could happen is maybe it takes the wind out of their sails to do it again because
Hmm.
statistically, men that are predatory will repeat the behavior. Not that
Exactly.
it's all so many men and it's all men, it's the men that do it repeat the behavior so much that it feels like it's so many of them.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, that must have been really hard for you. So we were dodging the calls. I mean, and at what point were you just like, I'm going to take the call, or like, how did you navigate that? 'Cause
Yeah.
you also were trying to get pregnant. You had other shit going on. You're like chasing, you have so much shit going on. I mean,
I
how did
had so much shit going on. I finally had to answer those calls because like it dawned on me
you?
that the survivor needed me.
Hmm.
And as much as I was there as an advocate. And also keep in mind, people, when I say that I'm an advocate, like I actually got accredited in
Hmm.
2020 to be an actual advocate. So there are people on Reddit who are like, she's not even an advocate. She just says that she is. Well, motherfuckers, no. Like I went through
He's
that shit. So.
accredited, okay?
Okay, so no. Um, So it was a little hard to try to play both roles of I'm supporting the survivor. Oh, but now I have to act as my own. And me as a survivor, now I've got to write down everything that happened and keep in mind for me to tell my story in that deposition, I also had to name the other party. And like I shared, I wasn't ready to out that person per se because one, I didn't know them. Two, I knew of their fan base and was deathly terrified and rightfully so, which what happened to me. So basically, let me put it into this context. When Billy's article came out for Rolling Stone, that was almost like a nothing burger. Then when the next one came out that I was it featured in, that was hell on earth. And I really went through the backlash of that and still kind of go through it here and there. Um, so when we're talking about then how did it get to that point? Like I said, there were people essentially waiting in the wings, foaming at the mouth because they got word that something had happened, and then proceeded to go on Twitter and started throwing out this information without even remotely considering the whistleblower's identity, ensuring that they are safe. These are people who literally wanted anything and everything for themselves. The whistleblower didn't leave their home for almost a fucking year.
Wow.
That's how terrified they were because of the people who felt like it was on them to tell the world of what Billy did. The only time that survivors should be telling their story is on their own volition and on their own timeline. So we were then all put into crisis mode of now what? Now what? And it was a daily, hourly, the amount of times that I was on the phone in between work and travel and all of this was so daunting to me. So just like you said, what woman is actually doing this for notoriety? There's never been a dime even in remotely in my pocket because of me doing any of this or thinking that my career would go somewhere because I was mentioned in Rolling Stone. You think I wanted to be mentioned in Rolling Stone for this? As a filmmaker and an actual creative, this is what my
No.
come on. Like, no,
No, and
no.
this is like, you know what? Like, as much as like I think billionaires suck and like whatever, Jeff Bezos sucks, whatever. We all know this. I was really happy about Amanda Nguyen making it to space yesterday
Yes,
because I was
absolutely.
like, she is the perfect example of somebody who had career aspirations of going to space and doing all these things, and
Yes.
then had her life, derailed by being assaulted and then became an advocate and did so much for women. But like, that wasn't her fucking dream or her plan was to get
No.
assaulted and then, be an advocate and do all these things. Like, she had
Hmm.
aspirations of going to fucking space. Okay.
Hmm.
She like working at NASA or you know what I mean? So it's just
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's amazing when women do these incredible things and they take their trauma and turn it into something so productive and helpful to other women because if you've had something happen to you, you just want to protect others, of course,
yeah,
even more so. But it's like, no, that wasn't the fucking plan. And like, it's very disruptive to women's lives when things like this happen. So the men who, cry about the disruptions to their lives, it's like, okay, well then maybe don't fucking act that way. And
exactly.
maybe don't behave this way in the world and harm others. And then maybe you'll be able to do what you like to do too.
Exactly.
Um,
That's all that it is. And there is no real responsibility.
and by the
Aren't,
way,
yeah,
statistically, if you've been accused of assaulting a woman once, 92% chance that the woman is telling the truth. And when it's
mhm,
two women, that number goes up to 96%. So when you have, I don't know, 4 or 5 women,
where
I'm
does
not
that
a
put us?
mathematician, Celene, but
Precisely.
it's not a Jessica Reed Kraus
Precisely.
pylon. It just means, and the thing is, like, even I've heard Reddit forums get like, sometimes it is so scary to come forward that sometimes like one woman actually having the bravery to do it,
Mhm.
engenders the bravery in others because it's like I'm not alone. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
the lone standing person to have to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people come out on Reddit because they're afraid for their identity to be seen, but they want this to warn others, and they are, or they're
Exactly.
just fucking rightfully angry and want to like let the world know what happened without putting their face behind it. Uh,
Exactly. And that happens. And there were people who were not identified in the Rolling Stone article about Billy who also spoke up. And I
I
will say that there were more.
I know of a case where there was a girl that had experienced, she'd been assaulted by the same guy as another girl,
Hmm.
but she was about to go into medical school and she was like, I can't do this to my career right now.
Yeah.
Like, and she had to make the choice for herself and her career and
Yeah.
her life. And like, to be honest with you, as much as it would have been great for that man to have be taken down as he well deserved, like she didn't want the disruption in her life. People
Yeah.
don't realize how disruptive it is for victims to have to go through litigation, to have to actually
Do
report.
any of this. Any of this.
It's so
It's
disruptive.
and I was like 3 months postpartum for the other
Oh
one.
man.
And then you have women making videos about me on TikTok. One woman, one mother made 12.
That's
12
insane.
videos.
That's insane.
And the amount of harassment, the DMs, I mean, my page is
Over
pretty,
Billy or was this over the other guy?
this is over the other guy.
So that guy caused a lot of heat. Like he has an even bigger fan base.
Oh yeah. Ben Kissel, yeah.
Is he like
He,
canceled too now? Like
oh,
what he did?
he's been canceled since that
Good.
article.
Good.
He's a DV motherfucker.
Wow.
And while he didn't get physical with me, can't believe I'm about to say this. Um, I had so much fear instilled in me because a survivor had disclosed to me that Ben would be screaming my name while uh, physically attacking the survivor. I have never shared that before, but when we talk about what that does to you mentally, I would say that was like my first real mental break in that process. And then my best friend slash sister dies a week later, and then my aunt a few days later. And and then it was like people are not only discrediting and viciously tearing apart my story, they're going back to the Billy stuff too, and like really coming for me because I was in it twice. And but again, but my situation with Ben and Billy happened at the Watergate the exact same night, within minutes apart. And so when I hear Billy telling Armie, as innocuous as that was, is a clear signal to me you have no fucking clue what you did. And it's very clear that Billy has no idea what he actually did because he even fucking said he didn't know how he got home from that Halloween party. He didn't know
Hmm.
if it was his wife. He didn't know, like, he stopped himself from whatever he was saying. Don't think I didn't pick up on that,
But it
fool.
was kind of reminding me of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, where Johnny was
Yes.
so blackout, but like, oh, it's so easy to refute something if you don't remember it, or if
Remember it.
you do,
Yeah.
or if you got so comfortable with the behavior that
Hmm.
you know, you just do it so often that you're just comfortable with it. And the thing is, like, it's so crazy to me that like women have a difficult time believing that like on a given night, like two men could behave very badly because like, for example, okay, so um, there's this like work expo that I go to. I won't say like what it is because I don't
Yeah.
want to shit on their name and like I love the
Yeah.
expo, but basically like I go to this thing. I've been going to it since I was a kid because like my family's in that industry, whatever. So like I've
Yeah.
been there and whatever. So anyway, basically in the evenings, like usually there's like events and stuff with brands and there's people get together and I have heard the number of assault situations that I've heard about. And one of the nights a few years ago, my sister and I were at like a Hilton hotel, and you know, this one guy basically like went up to her and was like, "If I F you, can I get this?" Like something in relation to her job.
Oh my gosh.
And she wasn't looking at him like that. He was a fucking weird.
Yeah.
And on that same night, this guy, who seemed like he was like out of place, and like so we kind of felt bad for him, and so we were just like kind of like let him into our little group because he just like kept on walking back and forth and like was pacing back and forth, and I was like, oh my God, he doesn't know anyone, like let's be nice.
Yeah.
um he tried to go home with me and then started following me back.
Oh
um and thank God, like we clocked it because he was like lurking.
my
And I was
gosh.
with two other people, but that was within one
Oh.
night. And then the next day, somebody had wrote an article about like the predatory behavior in
Mm.
at this expo and like within that kind of setting.
Yeah.
And I was also with my friend who's gay, and he was on Grindr, and it was just a bunch of like chest photos because there's a bunch of dudes not only like doing this stuff when they're in
Yeah.
relationships with
Hmm.
women at this place, right? But then
Hmm.
also stepping out on their wives potentially, and that so they're on Grindr only showing a
Wow.
chest photo. But like in these like male dominated spaces, and then think about it, like these guys were what, the two big true crime guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're probably getting attention that they've never fucking had in their life because they have
Oh,
notoriety
absolutely.
as podcasters.
Yes. Ding, ding,
And
ding.
what do you do with that power? You know?
They obviously they've hated women. Like they're
Yeah,
the pretty much every male that I have met in true crime all have mom issues
really.
or have some type of female issue. Yes.
Just like so many of the perpetrators of horrible true crimes.
Yes. Yes. Like I hate even, I'm not saying that's for everyone,
Yeah, of course not.
but I would say the most horrific men that I have met, every single one.
Can we just make a law that if somebody's been accused of sexual assault or any crime against a woman, it's illegal for them to buy a podcast mic? How do we get that bill
Please.
passed?
And also it's a requirement to wear socks.
Yeah.
I cannot get over just how gross like Armie's toes are just out and exposed.
Oh my God. Like, I'm not even surprised. And
Fucking
I don't know if you saw
petty.
the post-its behind him, but I like zoomed in because I was like, what do they say? And it was like 100 million people pod. Everyone wants to work with me. I have created family wealth. Those were his little podcast, his little
His
post-its
little
behind.
affirmations.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
Army.
I think he wants to be kind of like Dax Shepard, like armchair. You know how like I think that's his
Even
podcast.
Dax has issues.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. But the other thing is, I don't know if
Yeah.
you caught the beginning of the podcast that whatever like Freud shit
Mm,
was going on, Twilight Zone shit was going on at the beginning of the podcast was like creeping the fuck out of me. I was like, this is creepy to me. Like it's already creeping me out. Before
yeah.
I've seen both of them, I'm like creeped out.
They, there's just an aura about them, and I feel like again, it's the same kind of vibe I get when I see pictures of Elon or Trump. Like it's just this immediate ick factor. And looking at the way that Army was sitting, the shitty way that like Billy just looks, first of all, I just can't think of any reason for Billy, let alone Army, to believe like this is their redemption.
They think it's
Th
their hero story. They think
right,
it's their hero's journey, and it's just a
right.
pseudo intellectual word salad like the entire fucking time, you know? Then they're getting
I'm
hot for their fumes. And like honestly, Celine, if you had sent me a picture of Army's podcast logo and you said, Lauren, this is watch out for this. This is an extreme white power group. Like watch out. If you see the symbol, like run. It's just as bad as this. I'd be like, oh my God, this looks like a white power symbol. You're totally like to
yeah.
me, like his like podcast, the hammers, like I'm like, oh my God, this looks like it's like a white power group or something. Like it looks like so I don't know why. It just looks like some sort of white supremacy symbol to me.
Which is not too far-fetched.
It's
I
like
mean,
maybe just the energy it's giving off. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. And just they're like, I'm gonna say Billy is one of the most performative liberals out there, along with James Renner, along with his journalistic friend, who sit there and condemn Trump left and right, but yet they have more in common with Trump than anybody else.
And their
And
tactics.
yeah. And so again, it's just it's wild to me that someone like Billy, who again has said that he's in it for justice, he's in this to make sure that perpetrators are behind bars. Bitch, you should be behind bars too, if you really want to, you know, break that down. But with that being said, will these men ever be in the power positions that they once were? It's not going to happen. I will continue screaming about Billy as long as he keeps me in his mouth. I don't care that you didn't name me. I don't care that you didn't name the other survivors, but you are explicitly talking about us. And
And
it's
there's
not that
people that
hard.
know that they're talking about you, by the way.
Exactly. And literally had people say, "Oh, when he said this about you." Like that's the part that gets me, where it's like you're trying to come off like, "Oh no, I'm just speaking da da da." It takes 2 seconds to read the Rolling Stone article and be like, "Oh, well, he's talking about this person in particular." But again, if you're not gonna be willing to take the heat and me to come back and tell you all your inaccuracies, then don't go on podcasts. Don't go on thinking that I'm not going to say something. He can go on all his sobriety. That's the other thing too, is that he's hiding behind sobriety. Billy is. And for someone who just celebrated their 3 years from alcohol, Billy, I don't buy it for 2 seconds that you're even in this process. And like I shared, I am in such extreme therapy to not only combat like all of this stuff and being in the media like this, but equally how that has internalized in my physical body. It is very crystal clear for people to see during the years from 2017 to 2020 when I really was in the bulk of this and really dealing with it at my lowest point. I carried so much weight of it physically, metaphorically. And so finally being in this space that I am, 2 years after breaking my silence for the second time, it is really comforting because I can show people that this has only helped me elevate my life, my purpose, my intent, my advocacy, making, relationships with some of the most incredible women, yourself included, who have been sticking by survivors as long as I've known you. I mean, again, the whole reason that you and I came to be was because of Jessica. And it was because Jessica was attacking who? Survivors. And I think it just speaks to who we are as people, even though we're watching their awful bad behavior, acting as if, again, like, they're the real victims. They are the poster children of Darvo. That's what I called Billy in my post yesterday. He is the king of Darvo. Like, no matter how you spin it, dude, it doesn't matter. And I'm so happy more people in the true crime community are becoming more aware of the situation. But it just goes without saying thank you. Like, thank you for all your love yesterday and for taking the time to even watch such a shitty interview. Like I haven't even fully finished it myself, just because like I said, it's like those things are I'm have to like dose it here and there. But I have every intent of blasting them and letting them know. Like,
Yeah, as
fuck
you
around if I know.
should, as you should. And the thing is,
Yeah.
the amount of muck and mire you had to go through to like move through this. And I think that's again
Yeah.
the point I would love to drive home is that it's like, yeah, okay, you guys had a knock to your career. Like, what do the women in your wake have to wake up with every day emotionally? And what's the timeline
Mhm.
for them to move through that so that they can get to a point where they can focus on their career? How many years have they
Yeah.
lost at that point? How much money have they
Yeah.
lost at that point? How
Hmm.
how much of their, just so many different things that you lose. And I think the other thing that is really interesting to me, and it's something that I've realized, and I've had some experiences even with male podcasters in a predominantly female space being not necessarily who they present themselves to be, and
Mm.
actually using that nice guy persona to
Mhm.
maybe be somebody different behind the scenes. I think that like a man in true crime that's pretending to be the hero or like, trying to position themselves as a hero and then out late at night with a bunch of different people, you
Mhm.
just have to watch out for who you put on a pedestal because
Mhm.
I've been guilty of it too, right? Like,
Same.
as women, like sometimes these men insert themselves into certain places that are designed to make them look like a safe space.
Yes.
And it's almost just like trust but verify. That's why any guy that's like, I'm
Hmm.
such a nice guy, I'm like, you're
Hmm.
the worst guy. I know you're the worst guy.
Nobody says that if you
Show,
are
show,
the
don't
truest
tell.
guy.
Show, don't
Yeah.
tell,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So, like, I would just say, with all the male podcasters out there, whether they're telling you they're a feminist, whether they're telling you they're
Ugh.
going to solve a true crime, sometimes people are extremely well-intentioned, and I'm sorry for those people, but sometimes people are trying to create an image
Hmm.
that makes them seem really safe, and behind that image, they can get away with a lot because their private behavior is so incongruent with who they present themselves to be publicly,
Hmm.
and they have a big platform.
Hmm. And you nailed that. I mean, it's truer words have never been spoken
Right? Right? But it's
when it
true,
comes
right?
to
And
male
I've seen
podcasts.
it.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen it even
Hmm.
on varying degrees. So, like in my
Hmm.
own personal life. So I just warn everyone that if you go to a podcast live show or whatever, just, you just, people aren't always who they,
Who they are.
who they think
Exactly.
they are.
And I just want to reinforce that because especially when it comes to like true crime and such vulnerable situations and full-blown tragedy. These are real people's tragedies. And so when you have someone who's sitting there saying that, yeah, I'm for the victims, I'm standing for justice. Okay, Billy Jensen, then why did you never interact with any of my posts about me being a rape survivor? Never.
Mhm.
There were guests, to my understanding, there were guests that came on the podcast on his podcast who were rape survivors. He didn't treat them the same way that he treats like a murder family. So it goes without saying, like, you can sit here, you can pretend, you can cosplay as long as you want, just like you, Jessica, with your whole I'm an investigative journalist. You and Billy Jensen have the same integrity as like
As her favorite person, like Ghislaine Maxwell.
like Maxwell. I want to echo what you said about putting, especially men, on pedestals, especially in this industry. I have now basically have said like I don't really stand many men in this industry at all. Like I would be shattered about Pedro Pascal if something like
Oh God,
were
I
to come
always
out
think
about
if
him.
something came out about him. Sad.
But for the most part, I there's no one. Like there's no one that I'm sitting here in the male space that I feel so because individuals are flawed no matter what. Survivors are flawed. We are all humans. We all make mistakes. I'm very lenient about mistakes, but if you're gonna go and platform talking about how girls have ruined your career and your life, you still have a lot more of soul searching to do. And you already admitted your faults and your mistakes, so that's even more embarrassing. And I'm more than happy to, put up Billy's apology email if you'd like. Like I'm not afraid.
And also, like, I'm sorry, but like the way that they were dancing around the allegations about them was an admission in and
Mhm.
of itself to me. Because it's
Correct.
like, why not just say it with your whole chest if it's so ridiculous and fake? Like, say it with your whole chest. Tell us exactly, exactly. Don't give us
Exactly.
the watered down version. But thank you for talking about this because I know it's
Yeah.
not easy, like diving back into it. And
Hmm.
I'm sure this will help some people. I'm sure this will help some of the other people that I think were probably horrified yesterday when they had to
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at that and see that imagery on their phone or get it sent to them because people probably sent it to them. And you've
Hmm.
always been such an advocate for women, and I mean you even offered to get on the phone with Jessica Reed Kraus and teach her how to speak about victims, and she impolitely declined because obviously she doesn't care.
And then
um
blocked me to unblock me to be like, you're not the one who belongs here in Park City, bitch, you. Yeah, no, exactly. But like I said, I can't thank you enough for even remotely just your kind words yesterday. It was a clusterfuck. It was a lot. But I'm just happy that like I could speak to somebody who's not so close to the situation and maybe asking questions that a lot of, listeners might have as well. Like I said, I have very much have shared my story about Billy. And if you hear it in my episodes, you hear the actual way that affected me. So, like I said, it's in my first and second personal tale. If you want to listen to that, and yeah, and just keep being good people, my people who are listening. Like I said, it's a hard time out there. Be a good friend, be a good person, and just know that I will always stand up for victims and survivors alike. And yeah, so thank you, Lauren, for doing the same.
Thank you, Celene. And if you're in the throes of it, just know, I think like probably the way that you sounded when you first put out everything about this versus today is probably two different people,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah.
And
I got sleep.
time and time does heal. It
It
will
does.
always be with you, but time does heal. But unfortunately for them, as we heal with time, we're gonna get
Mhm.
even meaner if they go on fucking podcasts and talk about it. So anyway, I this was a delight. And don't fuck with my friends.
Yeah,
And
truly. Because we'll grab a mic real quick.
yeah, we can legally buy a mic as of right now too, okay?
Thanks, listeners. Thanks, Lauren.